So this is week 9 of the course, and week 9 will be very important because you'll start to learn about object-oriented programming, and at the same time you'll start Project D. So let me first say a few words about Project D. Project D will spend 3 weeks, and there will be, like for the previous projects, some requirements that are specific to this one. So I invite you to look at the website and look at those requirements for Project D. Now, object-oriented programming. Well, that's the main topic this week. So you will learn a completely new way of programming that's very important for many types of applications, for instance, business applications, so applications in the industry. I'll give some motivation, and then I'll give a glossary, so some vocabulary that's important to understand in order to talk about object-oriented programming. I'll give you one generic Python example, and then I'll start digging into more and more complicated actual examples, sort of toy examples that you can look at. So the level of difficulty will increase, and we'll see at some point that we need to understand what's called magic methods. So those are specific Python functions, or Python functions with a specific form that help make object-oriented programming relatively easy in Python. So that's their name, magic methods, and I'll spend quite a bit of time on that. So I want to encourage you to think of object-oriented programming also for your project. So Project D does not require that you use object-oriented programming, but Project E and the final project will, and you will be graded on that. So Project D is really your opportunity to try that out, for me to correct some mistakes that you make without consequence on your grade, so that you're in a very good shape for Project E and Project Z. So to help you do this, let me just summarize the calendar. You're learning in week 9 about object-oriented programming. Also in week 10, we'll see more things in week 10. And in week 11, at the end of week 11, your Project D is due. So to help you figure out a bit how to do things, let me say that week 10 will contain more advanced concepts of object-oriented programming, but less than in week 9. So week 9 is kind of a lot of material, a lot of concepts, and week 10 is less material, less concepts, but more difficult to understand. So just to summarize that week already, we'll talk about inheritance and compare composition and inheritance. We'll talk about class variables and instance variables, about class methods, about iterators, and finally about super, the function super in Python. So again, those are more complicated concepts. You won't need all of them, but they're really the Python solution to some of the problems that you might encounter with basic object-oriented programs. Okay, so the whole course so far was structured so that you would know how to do some imperative programming. You know how to define some functions, how to use that to build quite substantial programs, as your projects have shown. But you should also start to feel limitations. The way you have learned to program so far can only bring you so far, and now you have complicated programs to manage and to build. So object-oriented programming should seem now, hopefully, like the natural solution to all those problems.